Thank you for joining us again here at Canyon Hobbies. We appreciate you watching. We're going to do a fun repair today. It's one of those repairs that, unfortunately, if you have a TRX-4m, you're going to have to do this repair eventually. It's one that's super common here, and you're probably all guessing it. It's the servo, of course. They like to give you a plastic gear servo, and it just tends to not hold up. So we're going to do a replacement on that. The nice thing about this car is you only need a couple tools to get the whole car apart. All the screws in the vehicle are 1.5. The only one that's different is the one on the servo horn, which is a 2.0. So you'll have to have a 2.0 and a 1.5. And then on this cool tool, it's from Samix. This tool has the 5mm for the nut driver to take the wheels off. So it's a pretty cool tool. It'll do pretty much every screw and nut on the vehicle except for that one servo horn screw. So first things first, what I like to do is get the wires disconnected from the servo. The servo on this is nice. It's labeled servo, so we can just unplug that. In most Traxxas vehicles, it'll have a receiver that's labeled 1, 2, 3, and 4. The servo will always go into number 1. This one obviously just goes into servo. I did bring some cutters because there are a couple of zip ties that will cut so we can get the wires loose. And I got some zip ties to replace those with. But if you cut those 2 zip ties right here and right here, that gives you all the wires loose so you can get them all apart. Take that out. I did good job cutting this one. I don't want to cut my wires, so I'm being a little careful. Alright, so with those off, now the battery tray is the only thing that's kind of keeping the wires down. So we'll start by loosening the battery tray or taking it off. It's got 2 screws on it. If you've done any work on this vehicle, you know these are probably the most unscrewed screws because that's how you get to the transmission and other things. But just with those 2 screws loose, you can take this loose. Am I handicapped? There we go. And you can just kind of turn it out of there and get to your wire. So it's pretty obvious which wire it is. It's just the one with the white wire on it. So just pull that out. Might as well while we're in here. Get that out of there. All right. So now the wires are free, and all we have to do is take the servo loose. What I recommend, it makes it a little easier, is we'll take this screw out that goes from the horn to the steering link. Take that screw out there, keep track of it, and then there's only 2 screws that hold the servo in. So we'll take those screws loose. One and one in the back here. 2. And then your servo is loose. And you'll have to take it from the back and kind of roll it out past the horn. But get the servo out like that. I like to clean things up. Anytime you're working on your car, replacing something, it's a good idea. It's a good time to clean things up a little bit. Things that you can't normally get to when you're just blowing it off or washing it down. And then this is the only screw that's different on this whole car. The 2.0 that holds the horn on there. So take that out and set that aside. So there's the old servo. We can just put that aside. We're going to upgrade to the 2065R. This servo has metal gears, so you don't have to worry about them stripping out as easy. It's also a little more torquey than this stock servo, which is the 2065T. So we will install this just like we removed that one. And again, like I said, I like to do the wire last. We'll put the servo in. It's always a good idea when you're replacing a servo to center the servo before you put the horn on. So I'm going to grab my remote and battery. So make sure your remote is right in the middle. Power up your vehicle with the servo plugged in. And make sure it works, make sure it's centered. With this servo on this vehicle, the horn comes directly off the side of the servo that the horn goes onto, if that makes any sense at all. Basically, your servo horn will just hang off the end there. So try to get it as centered as you can. Unfortunately, because of the amount of teeth, it's not going to be perfectly centered, but try to get it coming off as centered as you can. And go ahead and replace this screw. Now, this screw does have Loctite on it already. I do recommend anytime you're putting a screw in the metal, put Loctite on it. This one has Loctite. If yours doesn't, please put Loctite on it. And then you can test it out, make sure it works. Everything's good, so we can go ahead and unplug those and we'll put the servo in. So we'll start by hooking the horn down inside the car, and it just sits right in there. We'll get our screws. Well, wrong tool. Tighten that up. One more screw on the back side. And then we can flip her over and just put this screw back in here. Easy as that. And like I said, it's a nice thing that all the screws are just the 1.5. So if you can find a tool like this Samix tool, it's very handy, especially for this vehicle where there is a lot of screws, but they're all the same, so that's nice. Now we'll just wind our wire back through the battery tray. Try to keep things nice and clean. Looking nice too, so the wires are kind of going the same direction. Pull it in, leave a little bit. We'll clip these wires all in here. On the back side there's a little clip, you just kind of slide it in there. And I should go ahead and plug this in now. And you'll see there's some extra wire here. You can kind of get rid of some of that, kind of even it out between the front and the back. You're going to have some movement up here, so it's nice to have a little bit up front anyway. The battery tray kind of slides in like that and down. We'll replace these screws. So pretty easy repair, definitely something you can do yourself. It's kind of why we're making these videos, help you guys out. You don't have to take it in to get repaired, you can do it at home real quick and easy. With that, the servo is replaced And I did bring a couple extra zip ties to kind of make it look factory again by zip tying these wires together here and also back here, just to keep it looking kind of nice. And with that, we're ready to go crawling again. And now you'll have a lot stronger servo. This servo will last you a good long time. I've been really impressed. I haven't had to replace that servo after I've put it in. So, and even after adding metal and brass to the car, even with that extra weight, this servo can handle it. So, appreciate you watching. We'll see you next time for another repair.